Welcome to Across the Pitch. Let's get into it. Coming into today's run of matches, the two teams I was really hoping would pull off a result were Forest and the Cherries, Bournemouth. They almost did. Almost. Let's start with Forest. Forest are a defensive team coming up against Liverpool's firepower. I knew it was going to be difficult, but the way I saw them pulling off a win was an early goal and then defending. Now imagine the smile on my face when Chris Wood scored in the 8th minute. Assisted by Elanga, who, by the way, ran his socks off, there was a counterattack opportunity towards the end where the ball fell to him. And you could see he didn't have the legs to run anymore. Brilliant effort by Forest all around. At halftime, I really thought Forest could do it. They totally locked down Liverpool during the whole half, and Liverpool found it difficult to do anything. The city ground was electric, and you could tell the fans were really behind Forest, hoping for them to hold on. If Forest had won this match, then the title race would be on. Fully on. Forest currently sits second in the table, still 6 points behind with Liverpool having a game in hand. The title race is not over because Liverpool can drop points, but it would be monumental to ask Forest not to drop points again for the rest of the season, whereas you can realistically ask that from Liverpool. However, I think that if Forest were to drop out of the FA Cup and fully focus on the Premier League, they could do something spectacular and maybe pull off a Leicester? Maybe wishful thinking. But seeing how they have gone on a run of just winning and winning matches, is it that far of a stretch to say a fully rested Forest starting 11 each week can win? The defensive solidity from them today was top-notch. Credit to Nuno, by the way. The fact that Forest were relegation battlers last season and now sit second in the league with 20 games played, that alone is very impressive. Let's talk about the second half. And this is where Liverpool decided to show they are a class above. They just kept coming at Forest, and Forest were defending. You could see Forest wanted this win badly, and Liverpool also needed some kind of result. The goal came off a corner, the most unlikely way for Liverpool to score. Nuno will be desperately frustrated that a defense that is so magnificently drilled, led by the outstanding Murillo, backed up by a top-class keeper in Sells, got caught on a corner for Liverpool. But talk about instant impact, eh? Jota comes on and scores 26 seconds after coming onto the pitch. 26 seconds. At that moment, you could hear the whole Forest ground groan. But you cannot say it wasn't coming. After that, it was just hard work by Forest and Liverpool throwing the kitchen sink at them. Maybe some fans would feel that Forest should have won. But listen, Liverpool, who are arguably the best team in Europe right now, threw the kitchen sink at them, and they only conceded one? Come on. They'll take that anytime. And look at the big picture. To get 4 points off the team who are probably going to win the league is brilliant. They are the only team who have managed to beat Liverpool in the league. Off the evidence of tonight, Forest will at least finish in the Champions League spots if this doesn't turn into a title challenge. Now, Sells, take a bow. He was an absolute machine tonight and made incredible saves to keep their point. Defender Murillo was also excellent and relentlessly fought for every ball. Also, the fact that the ref added 7 minutes and the City Ground fans weren't even scared tells you how much faith they have in this defense and goalkeeper. Elanga was also having a wonderful game today. That cross he put in towards the end, where it just needed a touch. God, if someone was there, it probably would have been game over. Also, there was a chance when Trent Alexander-Arnold fizzed in a great cross that pinballed Jota's way. He slides in and must think he's scored. He's about 8 yards out, lashes it in on the bounce, and Sells makes himself big to save with his feet. When the final whistle went, the whole stadium was on their feet to applaud the team. As they should, because what a performance. For Liverpool, they could easily have won this game as they dominated the second half, only denied by a succession of saves from Sells after a barrage following Jota's equalizer. But in reality, Liverpool were again short of their best, especially in the first half when they just looked slow and sloppy after they went behind, allowing Forest to drop into that deep defensive block that is so hard to pierce. It seems they have dipped in form from the beginning of the season, where they looked unstoppable. Drawing with Manchester United at Anfield and here at Forest, as well as losing to Tottenham in the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg, this was not Liverpool at their best. But this is still a position they would have been delighted with if it had been offered at the start of the season. First, after 20 games played with a 6-point lead along with a game in hand? Yeah, they'll take that. Wonderful match. Speaking of wonderful matches, let's talk about Chelsea versus the Cherries. Let's start with Chelsea. First things first, Chelsea. You need a proper striker. Jackson just won't cut it. If you were a Chelsea fan, you probably came into this one thinking, yeah, we can handle Bournemouth at home, right? And early on, it looked exactly like that. Cole Palmer, 13 minutes in, got the keeper dancing with a fake shot and just slotted it home. Chelsea were cooking in that first half. They really were. Nicholas Jackson hit the post, had another chance saved. You're thinking, okay, Chelsea are going to run away with this one. Which surprised me, really, because I was expecting Bournemouth to show some fight. They were 7 games unbeaten and playing good football coming into this game, so I was excited to see if they could pull off a result here. Second half comes around, and Caicedo gets himself in a mess and brings down Semenyo in the box. Kluivert steps up, bang, 1-1. And then there was this whole drama with Brooks and Cucurella, VR getting involved in everything. It could have easily been a red, and probably some other refs might have given a red, but the ref goes yellow. The official statement said it was a reckless action, not violent conduct. And then, oh my God, Semenyo. What a strike. Absolutely leathers it, left foot off the post and in. Semenyo was having a game and a half before Reece James came on. And speaking of Reece James, what an impact. Comes on after 56 minutes, and you can see what Chelsea have been missing. Tuchel, watching from the stands, must have been loving what he was seeing. Then, 5 minutes into stoppage time, free kick 20 yards out. Palmer, who usually takes these, hands it over to the captain, and boom, through a crowd of players, into the bottom corner. Scenes at the bridge. You know what, though? Bournemouth can hold their heads high. 9 games unbeaten now, which is actually a club record in the Premier League. They're sitting pretty in 7th, only 3 points behind Chelsea, who are 4th. And honestly, they were this close to being 5th tonight. But football can be cruel sometimes, can't it? Chelsea will probably feel they should have won this with all those first half chances. But when you're 2-1 down in stoppage time and your captain, who's barely played all season because of injuries, steps up and saves you like that? Yeah, you'll take that point all day long. Honestly, there were chances available for both teams to win this game. Chelsea had a plethora of chances, but their finishing has always been a problem I've had with them all season. They create all the chances, but can't seem to put them away. The Cherries, if you haven't noticed, I like the nickname the Cherries a lot. Had an early chance as well when Kluivert rattled a shot against the post after Chelsea keeper Sanchez gave the ball away. They even had another chance after 2-1, where Lewis Cook had a shot from a corner routine saved, and defender Tosin Adarabioyo did well to block Kluivert's chance. Mentioning Adarabioyo brings me to the Chelsea players. Honestly, apart from Palmer and Reece James, everybody else was poor. Very poor, actually. Enzo, Felix, Caicedo, Jackson, all poor. I wouldn't rate any of them above a 6, to be honest. Especially Jackson. Anyway, I do think a 2-1 loss to Chelsea would have been an undeserved win for the Cherries. I would have been happy for them, but it wouldn't have been deserved. Areola was fuming after conceding the goal from the free kick, though, but come on. It's at least what Chelsea deserved for their troubles. Football is very cruel, though, and on another day, the Cherries would have gone away with all 3 points. It could have been 3 or 4-0 to Chelsea in the first half, but they failed to take their chances. At this level, if you do that, your opponent can always punish you. Bournemouth came out a different team in the second half. The high press and confidence were back, and a couple of early goals put them on course for a huge win. Only for Reece James to save Chelsea. Great game in the end. Now let's talk about that absolute madness at the Gitek today. Man City. What is going on with this team? Coming into this one, they'd won their last 2 in the league and absolutely smashed Salford 8-0 in the cup. So you're thinking, okay, maybe they're back to their usual selves, right? Oh, how wrong you are. First half, Brentford were actually the better team. Wissa had a chance early on, there was a penalty shout, and Mbumo was causing all sorts of problems. Ortega, who got the nod ahead of Ederson today, by the way, had to make some saves to deny Mbumo and Janelt. You're sitting there thinking, hang on, Brentford could beat City here. Second half starts, and City finally wake up. Savino hits the post, then another chance into the side netting, and you're thinking, okay, here comes City. And then bang, Foden with an absolute beauty. The technique on that volley from KDB's cross? Chef's kiss. Then Foden gets his second in the 78th minute, and you're thinking, yeah, this is done. City didn't play well, but they've got the job done. But nah, Brentford wanted a win. Wissa, who, by the way, has now scored more Premier League goals for Brentford than Ivan Toney, 37 if you're counting, pulls one back. City start to look a bit nervous, and then scenes. 92nd minute, Norgard with a header, and the Katek absolutely erupts. And you know what? They almost won it. 95th minute, Mbeumo curls one, and if it wasn't for Aki's goal line clearance, City would have lost this. Incredibly, that was Aki's second goal line clearance of the game. He had another earlier, when it was still 1-0, stopping Wissa that time. City are now sixth, 12 points behind Liverpool. Even after Brentford pulled a goal back, City had chances to restore their two-goal advantage. Savino and Erling Haaland had attempts saved, while James McAtee, who scored a hat-trick against Salford, fired just wide. But credit to Brentford and Thomas Frank, man. They went toe-to-toe with City and deserved that point. The mentality to come back from 2 goals down against City, that's special. They're up to 10th now, ahead of Brighton on goal difference. And guess what? They've got Liverpool next. At home, Saturday. That's going to be tasty. Maybe they can pull Liverpool back for Forest? Who knows? Also, gotta mention Tony Book, City legend who passed away at 90 years old. Pep was really emotional talking about him after the game, said he was an exceptional person and wanted to win this one for him. Won everything with City, both as a player and a manager. What a life. But yeah, what a game. City go to Ipswich next, and honestly, with the way they're playing right now, you can't even say that's a guaranteed win anymore, can you? Football, eh? Beautiful game. Potter's first win as West Ham manager. What a way to start. Coming into this one, you're thinking, okay, West Ham need a result here, especially after that unlucky Villa defeat in the Cup. But the first 15 minutes, all Fulham. Harry Wilson hit the bar, Fulham looked sharp, and you're thinking, hang on, they're unbeaten in 8 coming into this. This could be a long night for Potter. But football, eh? Funny old game. 3 minutes, that's all it takes to flip the script. First, Soler, who had already had one ruled out for offside, gets gifted one by Pereira and curls it home beautifully. And before Fulham can even process what's happened, Wan-Bissaka cuts one back, and Sosek cheekily flicks it into the roof of the net. 2-0, just like that. Fulham fought back, though. Jimenez hit the bar. How many times were they going to rattle the woodwork? Then Iwobi pulls one back with what was definitely meant to be a cross, but hey, they all count. It curled all the way in, with Jimenez putting Fabianski under all sorts of pressure. Then, oh dear, burned Leno. Danny Ings pressured him into a mistake, and Paqueta said, thank you very much. 3-1. Game over, right? Wrong. Iwobi again, another cross that somehow finds its way in. And then stoppage time. Traore with a chance to be the hero, from 5 yards out, and he blazes it over. How? Seriously, how? The whole of Craven Cottage groaned in unison. At full time, Potter must have been buzzing, talking about foundations of togetherness and all that. And you know what? You could see it. Soucek was saying there was no individuality, just a team fighting for each other. Ings mentioned Potter told them to be brave and not worry about making mistakes. It's just great to have Potter back in the Premier League. But let's be honest, West Ham got a bit lucky. Fulham hit the bar twice, scored 2 anyway, and should have had that equalizer through Traore. Still can't wrap my head around how he missed that. But you know what they say about the new manager bounce. West Ham are now 12th, above United and Spurs. Can you believe it? And 10 points clear of the drop zone. Not bad for your first game in charge. For Fulham, though, this was a bit of a reality check. Sure, they were unbeaten in 8 before this, but 6 of those were draws. Now the teams above them are starting to pull away in the race for Europe. Silva will want to forget this one quickly. When you gift goals like that and miss sitters like Traore did, you're not going to win many games. Entertaining match, though. 5 goals, woodwork hit twice, last-minute drama. This is what the Premier League is all about. Gotta love it. Jetting off to Italy, let's talk about that tasty Serie A clash between Atalanta and Juve. Coming into this one, Atalanta were sitting pretty, 9 points clear of the old lady. And you're thinking, okay, big test for both teams here. The first half was proper end-to-end stuff. Coop Miners, who, by the way, was getting absolutely destroyed by the Atalanta fans every time he touched the ball. First time back since forcing that summer move, couldn't find his rhythm. Lookman was testing Di Gregorio, Thuram was throwing himself at everything, and then Yildiz almost caught everyone out with that cross shot right before halftime. Karnasecki had to be at full stretch for that one. Second half? Oh my days. Absolute chaos from a corner. Kalulu's header bounced off the post. Karnasecki somehow clawed it off the line by millimeters. They actually had to use goal line tech for that one. And then Pasalic went and missed an absolute sitter on the counter. You're thinking, that's going to come back to haunt them, right? And it did. McKennie, who's been playing left back recently, by the way, put in this perfect pass for Kalulu, who just slid it past Karnasecki at the near post. Composed finish. Then Atalanta equalized via Retegui, who hadn't played at all in 2025 yet. He came on, and bang, a diving header from 6 yards out after Bellanova knocked down Darun's cross. Scriptwriters couldn't have done it better, and it was end-to-end right until the death. Yildiz almost won it in stoppage time, his shot just skimming the post. Mata, who had to watch from the stands after getting sent off in the Derby della Mole, must have been pulling his hair out. But let's talk about the bigger picture here. Juve, 13 draws in 20 games. They're unbeaten, yeah, but they've only won 7 matches all season. They're 15 points worse off than this time last season under Allegri. 15. And get this, they've dropped 14 points from winning positions. Mata keeps saying they can't be happy with draws. But Mata, that's all you're doing. Gasperini, though? He's laughing off all the Scudetto talk. They're only 4 points off Napoli at the top, but he's like, nah, we're just focusing on Champions League spots. Mind games. Also worth mentioning, both teams were missing some big names. Juve had no strikers available. Apparently Kolo Muani is coming in on loan though, and Atalanta were without Kosunu, Cuadrado, and Scamacca. Proper Serie A thriller. And you know what makes it even better? Atalanta have got Napoli next weekend. That's going to be spicy. Let's talk about Milan coming from behind again. This is becoming a bit of a thing under Consecao, isn't it? First the Supercoppa against Juve and Inter, and now Como. The first half was a bit meh, if we're honest. Strefeza testing Maignan early doors, Leao setting up Reinders, but Butez was equal to it. And then bad news for Milan. Morata gets himself booked, which means he's out for the Juve game at the weekend. And it gets worse, doesn't it? Pulisic goes off with what looked like a thigh problem. The second half gets interesting, though. Como bring on Kakare for his debut, and bang! He links up with their other new signing, Diao, who absolutely mugs off Theo Hernandez, who, by the way, had been having a mare, and sneaks it past Maignan at the near post. Composure. But then things get a bit wild. Theo Hernandez, who's been getting rinsed all game, somehow scores the most bizarre goal you'll ever see. Goldoniga heads a corner straight to him. He completely shanks the volley, but it takes this mad loop and ends up in the top corner. And get this, right? That goal means he's now scored more Serie A goals than Paolo Maldini. 30 goals for a defender. Mental. And then before Como can even sort themselves out, Tammy Abraham slides this perfect ball through to Leao, who just dinks it over the keeper like it's nothing. Absolutely ice cold. Como nearly got back into it, mind you. Coutron, against his old club, almost had it, but Maignan with an unreal save with his foot. And then in stoppage time, both Bellotti and Gabrieloni just couldn't quite get on the end of Federa's cross. Bit of drama after the whistle too. Theo and Gabrieloni having a proper go at each other. Must have been something building up all game. But listen to Consecao after the game. He is not happy. I can talk for 2 hours, but if they don't get it into their heads... He was fuming, going on about how the players think pressing high means more running when actually it means less. And then dropping this bomb. We have players who don't have these characteristics, so we are trying to change them. Oof. And Milan's injury list just keeps growing, doesn't it? Pulisic and Thiaw both off with muscle problems. Morata suspended for the Juve game. They're going to be shorthanded for that. Entertaining game, though. Como giving it a real go. Milan showing that fighting spirit again, and Theo making history, even if it was with probably the worst volley he's ever hit. That's football for you. And lastly, let's talk about that absolute madness in Keel. Dortmund getting absolutely schooled by a newly promoted team. You love to see it, don't you? Well, unless you're a Dortmund fan, that is. The first half was just pure chaos from Dortmund. Keel came out firing, and Machino just goes bang in the 27th minute. And before Dortmund can even get their head straight, 5 minutes later, Harris pops up with a header from Rosenboom's cross. 2-0. You're thinking, okay, surely Dortmund will wake up now, right? Nope. Stoppage time in the first half, and Bernhardsson, who by the way was absolutely running the show all night, makes it 3-0. Imagine being in that Dortmund dressing room at halftime. Shahin must have been absolutely fuming. Second half, finally Dortmund decide to turn up. Reina comes off the bench and pulls one back with a beauty from outside the box. Then Gittins makes it 3-2, and you're thinking, here we go. Classic Dortmund comeback on the cards. But then drama. Holtby, who's been around the block in German football, gets himself sent off with a wild challenge in the 86th minute. Keel down to 10 men, 4 minutes of normal time left. You're thinking surely Dortmund are going to nick something here. But football, eh? 8 minutes into stoppage time, Fiete Arp of all people pops up to make it 4-2. Scenes at the Holstein Stadion. Got to give a massive shout out to Bernhardsson though. Goal, assist, just causing absolute mayhem all night. Dortmund's defense had no answer for him. Shahin called it shameful after the match, and honestly, can't blame him. Dortmund's away form has been dodgy this season, and this just takes the cake, doesn't it? Meanwhile, Keel? Massive 3 points in their survival fight. What a night of football. This is why we love the Bundesliga. A newly promoted side absolutely doing over one of the big boys in the fog. You couldn't write this stuff. A longer video today, so let's end it here. Like, comment, and subscribe and all that good stuff. See you in the next video. Across the pitch, over and out.